Greetings, guten Tag, Talafalava, and bonjour. Bonjour. Mm. This is Dr. Snow Brown speaking to you all, to the masses from around the globe, and especially those that are here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. That's correct. Anyway, it is lovely to catch up with all of you this morning. Well, being Monday, of course, the very first day of the 5-day week or 7-day week. Anyway, well, you know all there is to know about Dr. Snowbound. Brackets, Almerilia Eileen Trevoranus. That's correct. You all know if you have taken, a piece of your time, a second or a moment of your time, precious time of your 24 hours, one day, and so forth, to listen to my preachings. Because after all, those are all preachings from this meek noble. Now, I'm a German noble, or a German bracket Samoa noble. Scottish as well, in English. Anyway, I'm a noble. That's correct. Now, of course, many of you would not understand what it means to be a noble. It means somebody who is who has nobility status. Somebody who is a member of the crown. That's correct. That's exactly what it means to be a noble. So if I say I'm a noble, I'm a meek noble, or I refer to myself as a German noble, then that means I must be a member of a crown. I am a member of the crown. That's correct. And I have a kingdom that seals that blessing, or that gives me that so-called status, which is Crystal Kingdom Church TV Limited at the moment, that is registered as a company, but it's actually a private monarch and also a private ministry, or private church TV, interactive church TV. That's actually a nice timber. That's great. Never mind. Let's get straight to the point. If I'm a noble, if I am a member of a crown, then I would be equivalent to someone that has got elite status. For example, the ministers of your government. That's correct. The people that are on that level, that is actually my level, except I can go beyond their level and keep going, because, well, I have a God, and her name is Her Majesty Queen Snow Brown. That's correct. Who is a meek God. Holy Mother, Holy Mother. So the government of New Zealand has those ministers are called members of the crown. Now, of course, the crown they are referring to would have to be the English monarch, So nowadays it would be King Charles III and Queen Camilla and the English monarch That's correct. So they would be the crown that the government of New Zealand is connected to. So in my kingdom, I am a member of a crown. That's correct. That is independent, that governs itself, that is self-governed. That's correct. It has full sovereignty and full independence. But above me, there has to be somebody above me in order to say I'm a member of a crown. That's correct. Yes, there is, and that person is Queen Snow Brown. That's correct. Who actually is of royalty, is of nobility. So when you people, and I'm talking about the criminals and even the elites who are part of the government of New Zealand, especially the Maoris in this case, when you go, especially the criminal organizations, the two demons that I've been dealt to too many times, when you people decide to conspire as a group, remember, your commoners, your criminals, that's correct, You are not a member of a crown. That's correct. You decide to conspire as a group on your level as commoners and as criminals that are likely to commit treasons against a member of a crown or somebody that wears a crown or has ascended to a throne. Right, that's exactly what you did during the 9 years of tenancy while I was living inside this building. You conspired as a whole group to deny me the enjoyment or my full privileges as a noble, as a meek noble, and even as a tenant, without any criminal connections, attachments, nothing. I have nothing to do with the people of Aotearoa. I have nothing to do with your iwis, hapus, tribes, and even your local kaumātuas. I don't have anything to do with. That's correct. So that makes me independent. That's correct. But your people seems to constantly be in some sort of devious, mischievous, conspiracy with the elites and with your criminal associates, especially these two criminal organizations, that seem to go behind my back and pull the strings and apply your arbitrary dictatorships and your criminal harmful protocols to overrule, to try to wreak havoc, create chaos in my personal private spaces, in my personal private digital devices, and even in my personal private decision making, and even in dealing with other agencies that are well known, like Working Income, that's correct, or Housing New Zealand, or even the local social club, that's correct, and even the doctor, so it appears, especially in the heart hospital, and even any other agencies. You seem to invade my privacy. You seem to be an intrusion, to be getting in the way all the time. I don't know where you get those authorities from, but they are not deemed as legally binding, but you don't care because the elites encourage you to commit those heinous, unspeakable atrocities or crimes that you have decided to dump in my backyard, or let's just sow and plant in my backyard, and that you've also decided to dump on my table. And for somebody who partakes from the table of God, not from the table of demons, and you have people that partake from the table of demons, and even who also serve the interest of the so-called unsanctified, incorrigible criminals, commoners group, to dump stuff on God's table. Remember, I partake from the table of Queen Snow Brown. All my blessings come through Queen Snow Brown. That's correct. And you dare dump your nonsense, your rubbish, on the table that I'm partaking from. That's a real insult. That's correct. For any meek noble who might be a natural noble pastor or member of the clergymen. It is a real insult. So the first topic I'm going to be preaching about is the issue with the Housing New Zealand, my tenancy here inside this building. Because the Maoris from this criminal organization, the MMB and the KKK associates, man, you guys are the disgusting, that's correct, the most horrible, diabolical types of, wolves and pests that this noble has ever had to deal with. Do you know, I have never had one of my packages delivered, whether at this address or any other address, ever fleeced like that from under my nose and behind my back, and also with a dirty trick like that where somebody from the police force and somebody even Kainga order, it seems to be in conspiracy with the criminals inside this building to have that package fleeced and taken away from me. That's correct. Or for me to be denied receiving that, what I rightfully paid for. That's correct. Remember, the property, who owns the parcel? Who owns the package? with only 3 items in it. I do. I'm the owner. Right? It isn't lost property, for goodness sake. It is my property. That's great. As a director, that's my property. But as a director of a meat company, I could sue the courier company who had delivered my goods. That's great. Because they should have called me. They would have had my cell phone number to inform me that they had a package in their possession awaiting delivery instructions or awaiting some sort of delivery. Right. This is why I've got to really touch base and really tell you all how serious it is. When the owner of a package, and it could be any package, and especially if you're a director, is denied receivership of something that's legally under my name and that I had paid for. So now the company, whose fault is it? So the courier company would be at fault, not Temu or not Chifun.com, the company that had arranged the delivery of my goods from China or wherever from overseas to go through the courier company here in New Zealand. I think the problem was here in New Zealand. When the goods arrived in your country, there is the expectation of the owner to receive the goods without being intercepted, or without criminals awaiting receivership of something that they do not own. They do not have a title legally to it. So you Maoris know very well your rights under the Treaty of Waitangi. You know your rights also, in filing your claims via the Maori Land Tribunal. So even I know my rights as an owner, as a director, even of a company. Then my expectation is the courier companies in New Zealand, they have got to look after a noble. I am actually above the majority of citizens in your country. So I should be at the forefront of your minds, but at the forefront, first priority on your list, which has never been the case. So it's a real insult for me, who's a meek noble, and the Maori nobles would know what I'm talking about. That's correct. But I'm a Pākehā. To be standing there, to be made to wait in line at Wins for, say, over 40 odd minutes or even an hour, and yet you've got commoners and criminals going up to the reception area without anybody dictating to their privileges or their access to their services. Do you know how insulting that is? Remember, I'm a noble. Nobles, you do not make nobles wait in line. That's correct. Never. They go straight up to the reception area, get their stuff, and leave. That's correct. That is how New Zealand should have been serving me, to meet my needs, if you're going to cater my needs. Here in this address, I don't know what is going on here, but Housing New Zealand will need to explain themselves when I come to court to deal with you. Also, ADD Security will have to explain themselves because it looks like they're going to pay a fine. Housing New Zealand is going to pay a fine. Police Commissioner are going to pay a fine. The lawyer and his associates in connection to these criminals inside this building are going to pay a fine. The courier company is going to pay a fine. The local, all those agencies where these criminal organizations had dictated and applied their so-called criminal hamper, you are all going to owe a fine. But I would rather just round you up, like muster you up, at the mustering season on the farm, and have you carted off and loaded up onto police trucks. Let's just say army trucks, that's great, whatever police cars that they've got available nowadays, and have you processed in the courts and taken to prison right away, because that's where you need to go to. Right. Courier companies don't decide, because they don't own the packages, they don't own the so-called, that's correct, the goods that they are delivering to people's addresses in this country. The owner should have the right always to tell them, give them delivery instructions and give them directions as to where the package needs to go to. That's correct. Which address, whether it be a workplace, whether it be a workplace company or whether it be a local mailing centre like the Upper Hutt, New Zealand Post shop, you know, the director of a company, the owner of a company should always have that privilege. That's correct. I should not be told, oh, sorry, but the Upper Hutt, the New Zealand Post shop, Upper Hutt, can't accept your package. We have to deliver it to your address. I'm sorry, that sounds really dodgy. You know why? Because in the past, I've had packages, delivered by post haste couriers. And they've always placed a card in the so-called my mailbox. And I've always had to go pick it up from the post shop. That's correct. The local post shop. So just because some of us decided that we didn't want the repeat of what happened on the 23rd of May just recently, where one of my package was actually given, not stolen, but actually given, that's correct, handed to the criminals inside this building. Only the cameras of Kainga, they got the evidence. They would have seen the courier coming through the car park and delivering it here downstairs at the entrance to whomever had received it inside this building. Now, I don't care what you people do, but I'm the owner of the package. That's correct. And I decide where my parcel is going to be delivered to. The Upper New Zealand Depot doesn't decide where it should be delivered to or how it should be delivered. That's correct. I decide. The courier companies don't decide either how the package is going to be delivered and where it's going to be delivered as well. Guess what I'm saying, New Zealand, is the problem is you people are, I don't know what's going on, but you're very harmful and dangerous. That's correct. When you decide to let the criminals have somebody else's property, they don't own the goods and they don't own the property. That's correct. Just like with my so-called CCTV, the alarm system that I installed by AED security. The criminals inside this building, they never paid for the installation, nor did they ever paid for the camera that was installed. I did. I'm the owner. I'm rightfully the owner, but they don't dictate how my cameras should be, how my alarm system should be applied here in this building. They don't own this building. That's correct. Well, what you people are doing, if you're dodgy, arbitrary dictatorships, I don't know what's going on, is that you people are actually applying some other criminal protocols. That's correct. And it shouldn't be the case. Here I'm thinking about the scaffolders. We've had this leaky roof, up the ceiling and the roof for the last over 9 years. And we've had possibly close to over 100, to about 100 or even, 50 plus over scaffolders come to this address to try and rectify the leaky roof and the ceiling. That's correct. And it's very offensive. And I'm talking about any Germans out there. These are German men that I heard down outside. They come to give directions to the workers. That's correct. How to go and do the job up on the roof or the ceiling. It is so offensive for me because I'm not German. That's correct. To hear a German man outside speaking in German. And I'm easily misled that, oh, wow, I put my trust and faith in Kainga and Housing New Zealand, that if that's a German that I'm hearing right now speaking outside, downstairs, or outside, then I know this problem is going to be fixed. That's correct. The leaky roof and the ceiling, somehow, let's hope that this problem is going to be rectified. Because I kept hearing foreigner means like, I don't know, Germans or some other language. And so I get easily misled by Kainga at Housing New Zealand that the problem is going to be fixed. There have been other jobs, other repairing jobs, that there's a time frame of 24 to 48 hours to do the job. And that would be installing the door locks or other urgent repairs. And the people that have come to do those repairs, whether it be on my behalf, have been great. Those tradespeople, that's great, that are qualified. like Reese Finlay. That's great, that company. There has been so many other companies, that's great, that have come to assess, to give their assessments in regards to the roof, to the leaky water problem. And all they've been doing is taking pictures and reassessments, but the problem has not been fixed. So for me to hear a German outside, I trust the Germans' so-called expertise and their specialty. That's great. I trust their workmanship and the quality of their work, that they're going to fix the problem. And that when they get paid to do a job, they always complete it and they always do it well. That's correct, because it's something about the Germans. That's correct. When they go and do a job, it's about their work efforts, but it's also a reputation. Their integrity is so important. But when you have criminals and punks like these son of a bitches that are living inside this address, climbing up there at the top of the roof and undoing all of that work, that's correct. That Germans had actually done a good job to undermine their craftsmanship and their workmanship and their ethics and their integrity. It pisses the fuck out of me. You know what I'm talking about, Kainga? Housing New Zealand? You're the most dodgy son of a bitch organization. That's correct. You're the most dodgy. Did you know that you also dictate to my so-called alarm system and my CCTV? How do I know that? Well, it looks like the criminals inside here have been denying not only a lot of my privileges, that's correct, as a noble, and even as a citizen, and even as a director of a private company. It is embarrassing and humiliating to have to leave your country and then to have to teach people overseas what should people actually do. It ain't your right to teach people like me a lesson, especially people that are qualified. And it's not your right either to go and undo a German so-called, their work, their workmanship, what they had done. It's not up to the fucking ugly son of a bitch Maoris, the uneducated, that's right, incorrigible, jealous son of a bitches inside this building, these punks, to go up on the roof of the building and undo the jobs what the Germans had done. That's correct. What the fuck is that? No wonder you people take advantage when you move into addresses like this for your experiments and your so-called nonsense. That's correct. No wonder you give a bad reputation to your own people. Because you go and undo what somebody else who was qualified, they spend years, to become a qualified civil engineer and even a qualified builder. And you who are nothing more than just a loser and a criminal, go and undo? Who the fuck told you got the right to do that? And you think you can override the courier companies' so-called rules? And that's correct. No, you can't. You don't have any right to do that. You're not even in a position of authority to even make those decisions. That's correct. Now I'm telling you, New Zealand, you better do something about that. The Upper Hutt New Zealand Post, I don't want to go to war with your so-called organization or company. That's correct. But New Zealand, any post shops in this country should be able to receive whatever packages from any courier companies on behalf of any citizens, especially a noble. That's correct. No, don't look at me like what the blank faces. Don't fucking give me those kind of blank faces. That's great. Don't say that I've got no right. And who am I? Well, I already explained to you who I am. You already been hearing my preaching day in, day out, month after month. That's correct. But you people are the most disgusting citizens I've ever come across. You don't have a right to teach me a lesson. I'm a noble. That's correct. Did you know that? Did you know that criminals don't have a right to run a brothel inside this fucking building either? That's right. People like me got a right to tell you how to run your country. And got to tell you where to go to as well. But don't you dare dictate to my privileges. No courier company should ever decide how I want my parcel to be delivered and when I want it to be delivered and where I'm going to deliver it to. Don't you dare. Otherwise, your courier company will find it being shut down. That's correct. And when you do those kind of dodgy, arbitrary dictatorships, your company will end up in liquidation or bankruptcy. That's correct, because nobody wants to do business with your company, because your courier company's attitude is so fucking fucked up and bad. That's correct. And they expect people like you who are qualified to take any rubbish, easy come, easy go? Hell no. You people need to raise your work standards and your work ethics. That's correct. Don't expect us to turn a blind eye and to be ignorant. Don't expect me that the Minister of Housing is going to apply this kind of dodgy nonsense that's been going on in here with the so-called Ministry of Social Development and the Police Commissioner. Oh my God. People, what the fuck are you people doing? Why are you dictating to my privileges and denying me my privileges? Why the fuck are you doing that? We are not related. I never gave you any authority of any sort. That's correct. And even if I live among these sort of criminals, they don't have a right to overrule my decision making. They'll try to steal what is rightfully my packages, my property. That's correct. No wonder your people are behind. Can you imagine the audacity of it? Can you imagine that? How they go and undo qualified people's so-called, workmanships. That's correct. They're getting paid for it. And you go and undo it. Just because you fucked a Pākehā or an elite, don't mean you can apply your rubbish in here. Or overrule our decision making. You've got no right to go there. Even if you had sex with the Minister of Housing or the Minister of Social Development or the Minister of Justice and even with the Police Commissioner, you still don't have any rights. That's correct. And even your Maori, members of the Maori Party, even you don't have a right to apply any of your criminal protocols in here. And arbitrary dictatorships to overrule me and create chaos and wreak havoc. That's correct. You've got no right to go there. If that's the case, you should be living among your own people. That's right. Now, you want your own health system. Hey, if you can't cope with pressure, if you can't do things the right way, why do you think you deserve your health system? If you can't do nothing right, that's correct. And if you can't respect other people's boundaries and other people's decision makings, where you're not going to overrule and you're not going to dictate. What makes you think that you can run your people? That's correct. That you can do a better job than the health system that is already up and running for everybody. You selfish, arrogant, black asses. That's correct. You deserve everything you get from me. And more. For what you do. You ungrateful, unrich, lazy, rotten lot. They have the nerve. Do you think I care about those Maori members, MPs of your Maori party? Even they don't have a right to overrule me, my decision making inside this building. That's correct. And you don't have a right either to scrutinize what I say in here and then you're going to fuck with me. That's correct. Having doubt to. You got no right to go there. I'm a noble. How dare? Now the Minister of Housing, is she prepared to go to jailbird for what's been going on? Is the Police Commissioner prepared to go to the jailbird? Because the judge ain't going to ignore my restraining order with my so-called, that's correct, like the way that you people have been doing it. No, he's not going to ignore it because it is that serious. Can you imagine it, honey bun? Something as simple as a courier service. Man, I want a courier service that is not going to give my goods, my hard-earned goods that I've been waiting for and paid for. That's great. That I made sacrifices for them to arrive. Especially the person that is stealing the goods and the property, hey, they're not going to use it They probably might not know how to use the product that's inside it. That's correct. The person that's ordered it needs it for a reason. It might be for their protection. It might be also to save their lives. And it might also be, that's correct, the very thing that they need for an emergency. But you people wouldn't care. That's correct. Man, I hope that at the rate, the way that the government is running your country, I do not like it one bit. Not at all. And then they come into your kingdom, think they can hijack you and try to even dictate to you. My God, when is the dictatorship going to stop? When is it going to end? That's correct. I don't ever want a German to ever be denigrated, be belittled, undermined, their craftsmanship. That's correct. That way, by a bunch of criminals and losers who are too fucking jealous because they couldn't do the job, and they weren't qualified, and they can't do what other people do, like this noble. That's correct. You dare come here and take advantage of this tendency here. It's only supposed to be for tendency. It was not for converting people to sex slaves or to whores. That's great. That's this address. This was not created for you to show your criminal arbitrary dictatorships. That's great. And also for you, for your benefit, to experiment. This is not what this address was created for. You all take care, but I'll make sure that those packages of mine arrive safely in my possession. Otherwise, the courier company is going to find them. They're going to be sued at the courts. That's correct. They're going to be paying a huge, massive fine. That's correct. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.